Okay, now let's look at the different data types. Okay, so these are the data types that NumPy can have. So integer 32, integer 64, floating point, and then BOLL is Boolean, so it will be true or false. And then you have the Unicode here means string specifically. Okay. Now we already talked about NumPy type coercion, which is when you have the data type which will accommodate all the elements is what the data type will be. But we can also use set data type, okay, with this attribute. There are two ways of doing it. dtype attribute of the NP array function, and then we can use the asType function. Okay. So we have NP ARR 6 is equal to NP array okay, let's see L1. So we're going to take L1 there, and we're going to convert that into an NP array. Where was it? Okay. So NP ARR6 dtype, that's integer 32, right? Now, instead of that, suppose we say dtype equal to float. Okay, I think float will work. Okay, so now the data type has been converted into a floating point. Right? So this is one way of forcing what the data type you want the array to have. Okay, but when you do that, then there is a problem. Okay, suppose if you take this NP-ARR2, okay, or here you have L2, which has an A in it, right? So let's take L2. All right. You take L2 and okay, we changed L2. So let's make L2 that. So if L2 is that, okay, and then we try to create an NP array from L2 that has a string element in it, and we force it to data type float, then it's going to give you an error because it can't do it. Right? It cannot change A into a floating point value. So that's going to give you an error. Okay. That's a second way of doing it, and that is as type. So here, if you already have an array, okay, so like you have an array here, right? NP-ARR6, you already have an array there. Now if you take NP-ARR6 and then you type as type INT, well, I have to set it equal to. So if you do that, then you see that it has converted the numbers into integer. So if you already have an array and you want to change the data type of that array, then you have to use as type. But again, as type will throw an error if it is not able to convert any of the elements into the data type that you want. Okay. And of course, if you have numbers like this, okay, one of the possible uses will be, okay, like if you have numbers as strings, okay, okay. You see the data type for NP-ARR8 is string. Okay. Now if we take NP-ARR8 and then do as type integer, that will work. Okay. Because the elements, even though they are strings, they are numbers. Okay. If you have an element that is not a number, then it will not work. So, for example, okay. So we have numbers, but there is an element. Now if you did that, it will not work. Okay. All right. So you need to look at NP arrays. Okay. The shape, dimension, and data type, and how to get data type, and how data type coercion happens. Okay. So these are the things that you should study, and we'll stop here. See you on Thursday.